to the Integral Creative Writers Support Pod from ILEA, Integral Leadership in Space Action, not inaction, in action. And don't forget to sign up for the Embodied Integral event. Early bird tickets are still available. It's in April in Boulder 2025. And with that, let's go over to Dr. Jane Simmons to help us understand book coaching. Put your hands together for Dr. Jane Simmons.
Well, thanks, everyone. I thought you were saying integral leaders in space, and I was like, wait, what did I miss? What did I miss?
We went to space. It just happened, so don't worry about
I
it.
love it. I love it. All right. Well, I'm delighted to be sharing with you my passion tonight during this session. So I have a short presentation to show you what my nonfiction book coaching program is. And then I'll open it up for discussion or questions if there are any. And just to be clear, right from the outset, I did not join this group to find clients for my coaching program.
Okay.
Just very clear on that. I'm just really happy to tell you about what this is. So the first thing you need to know about me is that I love books. I love books. I've had a lifetime love affair with books. I love buying them, reading them, editing them, talking about them, researching the wisdom they contain, highlighting the wisdom I find, and I especially love writing them. So it's no mystery that my love of reading and writing has translated into coaching other nonfiction writers, and it's through Author Accelerator, Jenny Nash, who's pictured here. It's her program. And my focus in working with nonfiction writers is to work with writers who are trying to make the world a better place in some way. Now that includes a very wide range of possibility, from just personal self-awareness work all the way to global change, everything in between. Anything that someone is trying to get out there to help to make this world a better place in some way, I want to support that. I want to be a part of helping them get their voices out there and to widen their sphere of influence. We've heard, I've got all these books, and let's see, I've sold about, 20 over the years or whatever. I want to see our platforms, just raising up and becoming much more of a voice in our world. So it's not just some kind of little slice of, the population that's finding this stuff. I want to get it out there. So how do I do that? Well, there are 3 aspects to this type of book coaching. The first, and in my opinion, this is really the foundational piece, in my opinion, is to help organize the writing to begin with, before you even set pen to paper or, get onto your keyboard, to help organize that writing before beginning, and then to be offering ongoing editing support and feedback as the writing progresses. And this is the sort of foundational piece of the coaching that I do. But the second aspect, and this happens once the writing has gotten to a certain point, it doesn't have to be complete, but a significant amount of progress. Now I can support a writer in writing a book proposal to send in to a prospective agent or publisher in some cases. And then once that proposal is complete, the third part is to coach the pitch, creating a query letter and researching possible agents who may be interested in this genre of writing. And I find this to be really exciting as well. When I first started taking this training, I thought, I'm going to hate that part. I just want to help people organize. But once I got into this little, it's like getting into the rabbit hole of finding agents who are really interested in this kind of writing. Boy, it's exciting. It's inspiring. You can see that there are people out there that are interested in this kind of work. So let's take a closer look at these 3 aspects. First, the organizing of the work. And as I said, in my opinion, this is the most important place to begin. Whoops, what happened here? Oh, I see what I did. Nope, sorry. Oh boy, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Organizing the work. And what I use for this is an excellent book written by Jenny Nash called Blueprint for a nonfiction book. And she has one for fiction as well. It's just not my
Mm.
arena. But the reason she wrote this book was because she worked for many years for a publishing company. And one of her jobs as an assistant editor was to read the incoming manuscripts. They just all landed on her desk. And she always found herself coaching people after the fact on these things. And she thought, if only they could start their work, organized like this, instead of me having to back them all the way up and
Yeah.
start again. Um, this can help their writing become so much more coherent, so much more readable, and actually easier to write because we get a blueprint. We get something we can follow, and it helps with organizing the writing in such a way that it makes it so much easier. And so the blueprint takes you through many different questions from the range of, why are you writing this book? Like, why? Why are you compelled to write about this? What's the reason for that? And then why you? Why are you the best person to write this particular book? Let's, find out that. What's your point? So often we can't even get to the point of the book. What's the point? Well, I don't know. It's just about transformation. No. What's the point of it? Let's really boil it down to what is your point, and then that becomes this focal point for writing the book. And then who are you writing it for? And these questions can seem pretty simple, but they can be surprisingly challenging to answer, to pin it down. Because often we'll say, well, I'm writing it for anybody. Well, yeah, maybe, but if our focus is so wide and so diffused, it doesn't land for anybody. But when you really hit on who you're writing this for, now you can look at what is their specific need. One of the questions that they ask in the blueprint is, come up with your ideal reader. What keeps your ideal reader up at night? What keeps them up at night? And how is your book going to address that? And when you start thinking that way, it really shifts the way you begin to write your book, because you can see that like the question is, what transformation are you promising your reader? I love that question. When they pick up your book, where are they going to be? And when they finish your book, what transformation are you promising them? And then once you get clear on that, now the whole book can be focusing on that. Your table of contents can become a very clear pathway that joins each chapter in a very coherent way, always asking the question, is this bringing me closer to the transformation that I'm offering or not? Because oftentimes we'll do a little side trip. I know I love to do that. It's like, I want to put everything I know into this book. I'm going to get a crowbar so I can fit all these, nice stories that I just want to. And then you look and you go, it doesn't, it's a wonderful story, but does it further the work? Or is it just, and sometimes taking those things out can be the answer to writing something that is so profound and easy to read and focused and helpful for somebody, where they can read it and go, oh, I'm inspired by this, and that's what we want. So then the editing that goes on during this portion of the writing is basically developmental editing, or big picture feedback. We're looking at the big picture here. And the editing is also guided by the transformation that's being promised. I mean, it's not that granular, but it's kind of an overall perspective that can help keep us on track. And this is just because of the way I am. I generally will also include some copy editing changes, just because I am cursed with an editor's eye, that I noticed every little stupid thing and I have to fix it. But I tried to be hands off at this point. The copy editing comes later, but this overall editing is what I'm helping people along with. So then the next part is about creating a book proposal. And this usually entails several things. One is to write a compelling overview of what the book is about, and in such a way that it's not too long, but it's not too short, and it gives an overview so that an agent can go, oh, okay, I'm seeing what this book is about. And it's also about providing a bio but not just your, your CV. It's not that. It's showing why you're the perfect person to write the book. That's what you want this bio information to bring forth so that people can see, oh, yeah, there's a reason why you're writing this book. Then there's an annotated table of contents. Again, we don't want it, it's got to show a prospective agent where you're going and what you're offering. Audience analysis, marketing plans, all those things that authors generally detest to have anything to do with and think, I don't want to do that. I just want to write my damn book. Somebody else needs to do this. Well, unfortunately, in this day and age, as many of us have already alluded to, marketing is part of what the author is doing as well. It doesn't have to be only the author, but if you don't have some kind of audience already, an agent is very reticent to
Mm.
look at you. There's a few that are saying, okay, if you don't have a platform, let's see what else we can do. But generally speaking, they're going to want to see what kind of an audience do you have for your book. Even get into book jacket copy, on the back of the book, what's this nice concise thing you can say about the book, and a couple of sample chapters, and you want those to be polished chapters, ready to go. And so now, if we've done a good job on the blueprint, then we've already done a good part of the homework for the book proposal. So the blueprint starts the job at least. The proposal takes what you've already done and puts it together in a much more polished way and adds to it. Um, and and the goal is to give something to a potential agent that gives them a very good feel for what your book is. And you'll include comparable titles so that they can see what books live on the shelf. And the way they've said it is, what other books are going to be in your neighborhood? Who's in the neighborhood? And
Mhm.
how is your book contributing to the what unique contribution is your book bringing to that conversation?
Mm.
And so the proposal is sometimes the only, it's the only way that this agent is going to even see anything about your book. And so you want to create something that is pitch ready. Now, in the old days, you would print this whole thing off, 30 pages or whatever, slap it in a big envelope, and off you'd send it off, and it would land on somebody's desk, this manuscript. And there might be a pile of how many. And so they'd kind of leaf through them and try to find, which one of these do I want to go forward with? And so you want yours to stand out in some way, but you don't want to be doing something, really out there, because that doesn't fly either, right? So we want it to be exactly what they're looking for, because nowadays you're going to find that most agents have an online method of submission, and they're also very clear on what they want and what they don't want. Some just want a query letter. They just want a short description of what your book is. And then they say, if we want more, we'll ask for more. So you want to follow their submission requirements to the letter. If you do anything different than what they've said, it's just going to get pitched. So this brings us to the third aspect of the book coaching, and that is helping to write a good query letter. And as I said, sometimes that's all they want you to send. So you want to keep it concise, but you want it to just have one page, but that page needs to pack a punch. Pack a punch. You want to start with a stellar opening sentence that hooks the reader. We're always looking for that hook, that first
Yeah.
line. And remember, there may be hundreds of these letters crossing someone's desk. So, and then using what you've already written in the book proposal, you find points that are meaningful, that you can add in there and write a short paragraph describing the essence of your book, who it's for, what they're going to learn, what outcome you're promising. Okay. And then the final aspect of this style of coaching is to research and report on agents that have interest in the author's genre. And then I, as the coach, present that research to the author, do it in a table format. Here's the this agent, here's their literary agency, here's how to reach them, here's their submission requirements, and here's why I chose them. And this is a little different than their submission.
Mm.
Like, I really like the way they said this or did this, or, they're interested in all three aspects of your genre, whether it's mind, body,
Mhm.
spirit, and women's issues, both, or whatever it is. I show why I chose it. And then I send it to the author and say, I want you to rate each of these from 1 to 3. 1 meaning I really like this person. 2 meaning, well, maybe second round. 3 meaning meh. And you can cross anybody off that doesn't speak to you, and we'll just keep on with going with the research. And I have, as I said, I've really discovered a fun, it's this exploration, when I was in my doctoral program, I realized what a research nerd I was. And it was like, I never knew that about myself. I would have just said, oh God, I hate research. But there's something about it now that just grabs me. And when I unearth these, yeah, people that are like, oh, they're interested in it and they're excited and they're accepting submissions, it gets me very excited. So, and then once you have the list of agents that you're going to pitch to, now you personalize each letter, saying why you chose that particular agent, why you think that their interests and your book might be a good fit for them. And of course, I coach throughout this time where we get the writing of the letter right down to the way we want it before we start to send it out. So a good thing to remember about this is that pitching is hard freaking work, man. It's very hard work. And sometimes they don't even give you a reply. You don't even hear back. And, it's so hard for us that, we've been writing these books and, it's our baby and we're putting it out there, and then you don't hear anything back, or you hear, no, they're not interested. And so it's not easy. It's a not easy time. And so part of the coaching is to walk through this process just in a support, just as a support, as well as continuing to research and continuing to send it out. So, and of course, throughout the coaching, there's ongoing editing that's happening. I usually give due dates, in, 2 weeks from today, you get it to me, and then I send you back with, my feedback. We can also explore together self-publishing possibilities, although it sounds like Bet has a wonderful book that could help us all do that with no problem. But you need to know one thing, that agents
Mhm.
don't typically want to take on someone who is self-published for that particular book, at least. And if you say, okay, I've self-published this, but now I'm looking for a publisher, uh, you don't find too many that are looking for that. Now, they may be willing to, and I think in this day and age, there's so much self-publishing going on that may be changing some, but you won't find them advertising, looking for self-published authors, right? So if you're going to self-publish, you got to be mindful that that's probably not going to be an arena that you can use. And then when it comes to self-promotion, um, it's up to us to do it. And as an author who sucks at self-promotion, I will tell you, I know how hard it is, and
Yeah.
it's really difficult. So, but that's part of, as a book coach, we look at areas that we can get into self-promotion. And you heard Substack earlier, it's like, get on Substack, start doing some writing, engage with your readers. It's not about how many readers do you have or how many people are following you. It's how engaged are you with the people that are following you, and can you create that engagement? And the more you do that, the more you can, the better it is that when you do have a book, that people are ready to listen and see, oh, yeah, I'm interested in this book because I know this person. I've been communicating with them for a while. So that, in a nutshell, is the kind of work that I do. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I did not join this group to look for clients for my book coaching. However, I am willing with this group to do anybody who's interested during the month of November, that I would do a 45-minute complimentary discovery call just to look at what
Mm.
I offer and what, if you need it, and see where we can go with it. And nothing gives me more pleasure than to support writers and who are writing about making the world a better place and to help them get their voices heard. So if there's any way I can support, I'm very happy to do that. So if you just email me, drjanesimmons@gmail.com, I'm happy to set up a time just to look at what your needs are and see if there's any way I can help. Also, having said that, I have not yet completed my certification. I'm working on my practicum, and I'm still needing to work with someone on their book proposal. So if there's anyone here who has a manuscript written, and it could be self-published as well, and would like to work with me in creating a book proposal, it would help me out a lot in finishing my certification, and I'd be
Oh,
very willing to work with anyone who wants to do that. So
wow.
that's what I do.
So do you want to take questions,
Yeah,
Jane? Does
sure,
anyone have any questions? And you can go ahead and moderate, Jane.
sure. Questions, comments?
Wow. Just a comment, I was interested that the parallel track because I'm writing fiction, speculative fiction. And about I'd say 80–90% of what you said was identical to what I learned with all those conferences and workshops and so on. But there was another 10–20% that was different. But how to identify agents? You know, I took a publisher's boot camp, and back in the back in the day, like when you get ready, when you start thinking you're starting to need an agent, you go. They're called comps, I think it's a technical term. You find other works, in my case, fiction, that are very similar.
Yeah,
Like literally go to bookstores and find books that are very similar. Look up who the agent is in the
yeah,
acknowledgments. Get
yes,
online, figure out what conferences that agent is going to be appearing at, buy a ticket and fly there and sign up,
Wow.
pay your $100 or whatever for a 20-minute meeting with that agent and pitch your book. And then we got a chance to practice the pitches and so on. So that
yeah,
was like, this is, I mean, there's a lot of there. I don't know if
yes,
we have to do it physically so much anymore, but finding
right,
an agent who's simpatico, who's going to love what you do
right.
is,
Much of it can be done online now, and
Mhm.
but yes, if you physically have the book and you can look under the acknowledgments, quite often you'll see, oh, what would I do without my agent? And
Yeah.
if it's a book that's along the line of yours, and um, yes, and I have done that and found in each case that I've done it, they're not taking submissions, and I'm like, oh, but
Ah,
I'll keep trying. Um, and yeah, and back in the old days, so there's a book called The Writer's Market. I've got one here. It's this thick, and you look up agents, though, they're just out of date before anything. So online is the way to do it these days. But yeah,
mm,
it's a good point.
Hmm.
yeah, I'm seeing a vast area of need to train those of us who have self-published on Amazon or wherever to help us learn how to do the marketing and promotion.
Yeah, yes. And there's a great book called Be the Gateway by Dan Blank. Oops. Um, he calls it human-centered marketing. He
Wow.
teaches exactly this, how to engage with your reader in a way that you live in the arena within which you're writing, and you become part of the community. And he, I really think he does a good job. And his big
Well,
thing now is Substack, getting on Substack and writing and
oh,
getting into the group that you want to be a part of. And but you're right, so many of us just don't market ourselves or
yeah.
um,
It's like
even
it's almost like opposing skills. I suppose there are a few who have both, but I like you. I hate promoting myself. I suck at it. I was trying to because I thought I was supposed to be doing it. And I don't know how my friends could stand me. No, I couldn't stand me. So I just gave it up, figure I'll
I
hire
know. I
somebody
know.
if I
It's
get
like,
that far.
oh no, here she comes again. She's going to talk about her damn book. Let me out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the same. It's like I don't want to, and yet our work is so important, and it matters, And so there's another if you go to the website marketingforhippies.com, that one is really good as well. And he's Tad Hargraves. He lives on Vancouver Island, and I lived there in the 70s, and he looks like somebody who lived there in the 70s. He's got long, he's an old hippie. It's great. And he's wonderful at helping to do the human-centered marketing as well. So those two
What was
are
what was the name of the previous book, the Gateways book?
Be
What
the
was the
Gateway. Yeah, Be the Gateway, Dan Blank.
BLANK?
Yeah. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gary, go ahead.
So I write on Substack, and I've noticed that one of the things that I have trouble with, I write essays that are 700 to 1,700 words long, and it feels to me that there's something in the realm of developmental editing that I need help with, both from the standpoint of, how does this piece fit with other pieces, but
Yes.
also um, um, within a piece. Sometimes I get lost in what I'm writing, and I have to go back to the start to remember what I was writing about, and find I've ended up in a completely different place. And it's for me as a non-writer, it's sort of an adventure of I love the instruction, right, of crappy first draft, because basically I really get a lot of the gist of it out, and then go back and work with it for 10 edits before I post it.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of wondering if the complimentary session or some other thing might be useful from the standpoint of understanding this bigger picture of developmental editing.
Sure. Yeah. Why don't we book something, Gary? I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I was recently working with someone who has years worth of blogs and sent them to me, some of them. And everyone who is getting these blogs said, you got to write a book. You got to put these in a book. And so he sent them to me. And when we talked about it, I said, well, what's the point of your writing? Because you can't just slap a bunch of blogs into a book, as much. And he finally came to the realization that he didn't really want to write a book. People were telling him that he should.
Mhm.
And
Right.
but at the same time, his work is really valuable. These things that he's written. And
Mhm.
so we've been working on what's another avenue? Is there, I think he should just write a blog that he publishes. He's just, these are old things that he did years ago, maybe had newsletters, followers or something. So get on Substack and start publishing them, update
Mhm.
them because some of them are, older. But
Mhm.
trying to find that, that piece that goes through all of them, that's
Mhm.
what's the point of this? Why am I writing this? That is such an important piece. So we could explore that on our call, Gary. Happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Bet.
Really good discussion. And I really like how you talked about, like, why are we writing it? Right. And I always feel like whenever I write these books, it's because someone has demanded it of me. Like, oh, you have to write this. Like a bunch of people when I was a software architect kept asking me, like, how'd you become a software architect? Can you please tell me like the 5 steps? So I just started writing it, and then I was like, oh, I'll just publish this as a book. And then I've always done a lot of speaking. I think I'm more of a speaker. That's really
Hmm.
my venue. And then I just end up selling these books in the back of the room. I think it's really important to be like, why am I doing this? Am I trying to sell 1 billion copies of this? Because if so, you have to really recognize what you're up against. Like you're up against Stephen King and whatever, whatever the top other names of the, we all know Malcolm Gladwell, right? If you're going to swim in that pool, you're going to have to work really, really hard to get there. But if you're just speaking at a conference and you sell some like 3 books in the back room and it was fun, that's also nice. So I think just having like the right perspective is really good. And I actually wrote my Good Meetings book as a blog during the pandemic because I just was so tired of going to terrible meetings. And I'm like, I'm just going to write this. And I worked in a company with a lot of junior employees that just didn't know. And it was kind of a way to release the frustration of being in like these terrible meetings. And I did actually run a program for my boss to help get the meetings better. And I think it did work. But yeah, I think you got to know why you're doing something and then set your expectations correctly. So I'm really appreciating all this stuff that you're putting together, Jane. It's really great. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So you might think, if I was doing a TED talk on this, what would I say? I've got 18 minutes or whatever it is to get my point across. And when you get clear on that, then and yeah, sometimes we write a book as a companion piece to our presentation, or it's a workshop, and then we've got a book that goes with it. And so there's different reasons to have the book, but yeah, it's good to get clear on that. Karen, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the many helpful things is I took this the Publishers Boot Camp, I think it was called. I'm still in touch with the gal who gave it. That was so insightful. And it was 10 years ago, but she started by listing all the different motivations behind writing what we want to write, and that was a fiction group, but it could be you might, or do you want it, or is it a family memoir for your family, or is it something you just want to get it out to a certain little group, like people who like to groom cats or something? And what is she? So the first exercise that took about a half an hour was to identify what our baseline motivation for writing this was. And then she explored the world of publication and all the alternative options. Because, 25 years ago, it was very simple. You write it, you get help writing it, you find an agent, your agent finds a publisher, you go through the publisher, they publish it, they distribute it. It was like 5 steps, A, B, C, D, E. Not anymore. There's like this landscape with 500 nodes. And
Exactly.
so her 9-hour workshop took us identifying our base motivation, then helping each of us plot through all these nodes what our optimal avenues would be to get where we want to go. And it was one of the most insightful 9 hours I've ever spent. And
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
sure the
there's
problem is,
yes.
and
Sorry.
there's so many options, like just to have the book out in the world, is that enough? To have it listed on Amazon, say, there it is that enough? Or now do I want to find out how to market it? What are my
Right.
options there?
Yes. Marketing for hippies, they teach to create a signature workshop. What's your signature workshop? So, like a freebie that you offer based on your work that is
Wow.
like an introduction to the work. And then and from there, people can get into what else you do. But, and it's really had me thinking about creating a signature workshop, really boil it down to something really clear, concise. What's the 3 points here that you're going to put across and give to people? What are they going to take away from it? And that can really help to organize, your thinking and
Right.
to start engaging with people in a greater way. Yeah. Well, all of you are doing work that is so powerful and so valuable. And the world needs us all to be sharing our wisdom. And, I really believe that. I believe that with all my heart, that that we bring our wisdom to the table, and that there's a reason why we're wanting to share what's in what's what our work that we're here to share, and that keeps me inspired, because some days I feel like, to hell with it all.
Thank you so much for sharing your passion with us. What a
Yes.
treat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Put our
Yeah, it
hands
was my-
together for Dr. Jane Simmons.
Yay.
Hey.
Great job.
Thank you for being here.
So
And
much. That was
Yeah.
spectacular. So don't forget to get your embodied integral tickets. I'll put the link in the description, and I'll put it in the chat. And everyone, see you in January when we have our next session.
yeah.
All right.
And if
Thank
anybody wants
Bye.
to meet with
Thank
me in
you.
November,